here at the Unidome in Cedar Falls. Kurt Pegler, Matt Taphorn with you as we get set to tip off the Redbirds and the Panthers. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. First for the visiting ISU Redbirds, 14-13 on the season and 10-6 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Greg Alexander, Randy Rice, Sean Jepson, kind of that three-guard offense, along with Shedrick Ford, who's in the lineup instead of Babakar Bojang tonight. So a change there as Bojang misses the assignment, and it's going to be Shedrick Ford, who's been playing as a reserve. He'll get the start instead of Babakar Bojang. The Redbirds, of course, coached by Tom Richardson in his third season. 45 wins and 42 losses, and trying to win here at Northern Iowa for the first time. The Panthers of Northern Iowa, 13 wins and 12 losses. They're 8-8 in the league on senior night. The starting fives: Eric Smith, Robbie Sieberding, Chris Foster, Aaron Middendorf, and David Gruber. They are coached by a former Northern Iowa basketball player, Greg McDermott, in his first season. 13 wins and 12 losses. They've turned things around after a season last year where they just won 7 ball games. And McDermott is a former, as we say, student athlete here as the Panthers. He played in the mid-1980s. In fact, is on the all-time scoring list, number 21 on the all-time scoring list. He scored better than 1,000 points as a member of the Panthers and played under head coach Eldon Miller. The series, the all-time series, is led by Illinois State, 26-9, and the Redbirds have won 4 straight in the series, including a 70-55 win in Normal back on January the 30th. 6 Panthers celebrating senior night tonight. Matt, always a difficult venue to play in to begin with, and then when it's senior night on top of that, you hate to be the visiting team on senior night.
Absolutely, and when some of those seniors are Aaron Middendorf and Robbie Sieberding, and you know, those are the guys that have really produced over their careers here at Northern Iowa, and to have that kind of emotion generating to start the ball game really gives them an advantage. Plus, playing in this difficult facility here at the Dome, with the different type of background than what the Redbirds are used to, it does create some problems. We'll see how the Redbirds come out and play here to start the ball game.
Well, Northern Iowa has lost 4 of its last 5, but the Panthers are 5-3 in home games in the league. And they have been terrific, really, historically, as you mentioned, here in the Unidome. They're 223-108 since this place opened up in 1975, so that's a 67% winning percentage. Terry Davis, Paul Castor, and Kip Kissinger are the officials working tonight's game. The Redbirds are wearing their road red with white trim. Northern Iowa in its home gold uniforms with purple trim. And the Redbirds will move from our left to our right to open the half, and right to left to open the second half. Andy Strandmark, the opening tip with David Gruber. And we are underway here in Cedar Falls. The opening tap is controlled by Strandmark as he flips back to Randy Rice. And it's ISU in Northern Iowa live here on CBS 31. And glad you are alongside for a critical game for the Redbirds, who start the night 3rd in the conference standings, tied with SMS. So they'll be keeping one eye on the Southwest Missouri State score tonight and trying to take care of business here in Cedar Falls.
And get used to the guys that are on the floor for the Northern Iowa Panthers. Those guys will play 30-plus minutes a ball game. They'll be out there for the majority of the minutes.
And a steal already this time, all the way down, and missed shot that time. And tipped out, and again a shot off the glass and missed. 2 opportunities for Chris Foster, once on the break and once on the rebound to score. Neither would go down.
Sloppy play, and they're really going for the Redbirds. Really didn't take care of the ball on the offensive end, and defensively weren't able to corral a couple of the rebounds. They may have gotten a little cool sitting on the bench, honoring those 6 seniors.
Yeah, it was a long senior ceremony when you've got a half a dozen of them. Now Rice from the outside. His 3 ball is no good, and the long rebound is controlled by Foster.
Northern Iowa very patient on the offensive end. We talked about Middendorf being very versatile out on the floor. When you have Foster, Sieberding, and Smith out there as well, they're a very good perimeter team.
Backdoor play. Middendorf intended to go to Foster, but it's out of bounds. The first turnover for the Panthers.
Good denial that time on the wing by Randy Rice, and on the back cut, laid himself out, parallel to the floor, tried to intercept the pass, and the pass was just out of the reach of Foster.
Yeah, you mentioned that they play those 5 players an awful lot. You take a look at their bench numbers. They've been outscored 526-195 on the bench this year. They do not get much scoring off the bench, and another turnover by the Birds.
And that's 2 turnovers in the first minute and a half of this ball game. Something the Redbirds need to do a better job of. And you know, what games when they play with fewer turnovers, they're very successful. When they get in a situation where they allow the defense to dictate the other team's offense, they get in a lot of trouble.
We've played a minute and a half here at the Unidome. No score between the Redbirds and the Panthers. Nice interception that time by Andy Strandmark as he stepped in the passing lane and knocked that pass out of bounds.
Good movement on the post that time by Strandmark. Gruber had him pinned on his hip. And that time Strandmark took the baseline and got his hand on the ball.
Strandmark's one of those guys recently, Matt. If you take a look at his numbers after the game in the box score, they don't look that impressive. But boy, was he a factor last Saturday in that victory over the Salukis. He blocks shots, he takes up space, and he's a valuable defensive player for the Birds. Now it's Gruber over Strandmark, missed a shot and tipped in by Middendorf.
And again, that's the versatility of Middendorf. Goes after the offensive glass and puts the ball back in. Strandmark did a good job defensively. It's Shedrick Ford kind of lost Middendorf in the shuffle, and he was able to get his hands on the ball and go back in.
Jepson for three, and Sean Jepson is in the scorebook now. It's 3-2 Redbirds.
And that's another thing that Jepson's done over the last 10 ball games is he has not hesitated when he comes off that screen and shot faked as much as he had earlier in the season. And he's been much more successful on his offensive opportunities.
And now the defense by Jeff as he comes away with a steal. Second turnover for the Panthers. Redbirds almost turned it right back over, though. Now it's Rice. He looks down to Strandmark and dribbles on the far side now behind a screen from Ford. Now it's Ford, pump fake from 15, look inside and hand out to Jeff.
And again, on the offensive end, the Redbirds just have not looked very crisp. Nice pass inside that time from Jepson Alexander for the nice lay-in.
Sensational patch that time for Jepson. And it's now a 5-2 lead after the lay-in by Alexander.
And Northern Iowa on defense is really pressuring the Redbirds out on the floor, pushing them out defensively, and that's going to give opportunities for backdoor cuts that time, as we saw by Greg Alexander.
Sieverding cut off by Strandmark, now drives to the paint, kick out to Middendorf, thought about the three, stepped inside the arch, missed the jumper, but it's Gruber that gets the board, and now it's Eric Smith from the outside. His three is up and no good, and it's tipped in the far corner, and Alexander goes and chases it down.
Good hustle that time by Alexander, didn't give up on the play and was able to get his hands on the ball. Another key for the Redbirds is keep Northern Iowa off the offensive board. That's something they did not do a good job of against Wichita State in that loss Wednesday night.
Rice down low to Ford, lost the dribble, he's in all kinds of trouble, kicked it out to Rice, now it's Jepson. 4-3, top of the circle, missed it, tapped out by Strandmark with a foul on Strandmark.
Redbirds getting their opportunities. Another good look that time by Jepson. In this arena, though, the way that this dome is set up, there's a lot of background behind the basket that's tough to shoot into. A lot of depth perception problems in a big dome or arena like this.
Yeah, talk about that. As far as a player is concerned, this is a difficult place in which to shoot, right?
Well, it's a football dome facility, and they use basically a third or maybe a quarter of the whole arena or the dome for the basketball court. And that really causes some problems with depth perception for the offensive shooters.
A steal by Jepson. Alexander leads him. Nicely done. 5 points for Jepson. He's got 5 of the Redbirds, 7, and ISU has a 7-2 lead.
And Jepson's been very active with his hands defensively. Come up with 2 steals already here in the ball game, and that time they converted defense to offense.
And Chad Mazanowski's at the scorer's table. He'll check in at the next dead ball. Woodley down to Gruber, works on Strandmark, reverse layup, top of the glass, no good. Alexander back, his second defensive rebound.
And that's that size that Andy Strandmark offers you on the defensive end. That time David Gruber went up, was bothered by that size of Strandmark and fell short on the shot.
Rice missed the shot. Now on the other end, it's Middendorf in transition.
And that's one thing that Middendorf does very, very well. Gets up and down the floor quickly and scores a lot of those transition baskets. He's already got 4 in the ball game, all 4 points for the Panthers. And he's a guy that if you let him get going like that, he's going to put some points on the board.
Well, like you said at the top of the broadcast, Matt, he can beat you outside, he can beat you inside. And Sean Jepson just traveled as he dragged his pivot foot.
I thought he had the ball down on the floor before he moved that back foot.
We've got a timeout on the floor. Early on here at the Unidome. Good start for the Redbirds and Sean Jepson. It's ISU 7 and Northern Iowa 4 here at Cedar Falls. Unidome, University of Northern Iowa. Redbirds off to an early 7-4 lead over the Panthers.
We have Babacar Bojang and Chad Mazanowski in the ballgame replacing the front line for the Redbirds.
Robbie Sieverding with the pump fake and the foul. We'll see if it was on the floor or if he was in the act of shooting, if they'll give him a couple of shots.
I think they're trying to find... No, they did call it on Bojang. Bojang from the side that time. Bojang just entered the ballgame, had 23 points and 15 rebounds in the victory by the Redbirds at Illinois State. Bojang, so the first game this year, he's come off the bench.
Sieverding makes the free throw. Sieverding held to just 11 points by the Birds in that game in January that you mentioned. But come Tuesday, when the Missouri Valley Conference announces its all-conference team, there's no doubt he's going to be on the starting 5.
And a lot of that was caused by the defense of Randy Rice in that ball game. And when Randy's not guarding, you got a guy like Greg Alexander on him. a lot of good defensive effort in that ball game for the Redbirds.
Now it's Bojang's first shot from the field. Rimmed out, and Sieverding the rebound.
Nobody on the boards that time by the Redbirds. They were back defensively. They're getting back in defensive transition, and Bojang missed on the shot. 3 Northern Iowa Panthers there to corral the rebound.
Woodley skip pass over to Smith for 3. And the Panthers have scored 7 straight points, and what was once a 7-2 Illinois State lead is now a 9-7 Panthers advantage.
The timing for the Redbirds here in the early part of this game just has looked off a little bit. Offensively, they're bobbling a lot of passes. They're coming out with missed passes, and defensively, they're missing some of their assignments as well.
Now Bojang with a double team. His floater is short, and it's Moriaru who came up with the rebound, the big fella.
Poor shot that time by Bojang. Had 2 defenders on him and really tried to get that one up the basket. He had a lot of success in normal against the Panthers, but so far in this ball game, coming off the bench, a little cold.
Now Woodley's 3 is long, but Middendorf gets the rebound, and that's where he hurts you on the weak side board.
And Bojang, when he goes in on the defensive boards, goes to the basket as opposed to going to his player to block him out. And that time, Middendorf was able to get the long rebound.
Sieverding tries to back in, and his pass is picked off by Randy Rice. 2-on-2. He and Jepson all the way down, and Rice is fouled by Woodley.
Good anticipation that time by Rice as well. Bojang was, Maznowski, however, was the defender who came over to double team Sieverding down on the block. And Rice slipped in and intercepted the pass and went the other way, and now he'll go to the line for 2 shots.
And we've got some more substitutions ready to come in. Vince Green was going to come in for the Redbirds and Trey Austin for the Panthers, but it's Rice at the foul line first, where he's an 80% free throw shooter. The Redbirds have been excellent from the foul line all season long, but did not shoot the ball very well at all from the free throw line Wednesday night in their loss in Wichita.
And those are just one of the little things that they didn't do well in that game. That, too many turnovers, poor job boxing out and getting the defensive rebounds, and really the free throw misses were just a summary of how they lost that ball game.
In fact, the Redbirds were 8 of 16, just 50% from the foul line on Wednesday night, and for a team for the season, they're shooting over 76% right now, 6th in the country in free throw shooting. Rice makes good on the foul shot to tie the game at 9, and he goes out. Vince Green comes in.
And this is where I think the Redbirds really have the advantage. They've got more depth, more minutes off their bench, more production than what Northern Iowa has. We mentioned that the majority of their players will play 30 minutes in this ball game. They've got some of the subs in there now with Woodley, Trey Austin, Marcurio.
Woodley down his lob intended for Austin is off Austin's hands and out of bounds. And now another substitution as Chris Foster comes back in the game. He started, took a quick breather on the bench. Now he's back in. He replaces Smith.
And again, the timing off a little bit with, not as much playing time for these guys. And that time Woodley just airballed one over Austin's head.
5th Northern Iowa turnover. The Redbirds have turned the ball over 3 times here in the first 7 minutes. Now it's Jepson. His 3 is up and down, and Sean Jepson's 2 out of 2 from the 3-point line. He has 8 of ISU's 12 points.
And no hesitation again, once again that time, as Jepson, as soon as he caught it, looked right at the basket, had an opening, and took the advantage.
Another quick start for Sean Jepson, who hit his first 6 shots from the field in Saturday's win over Southern Illinois. Right now, he's 3 out of his first 4. And a foul away from the basketball, and it's going to be against Northern Iowa.
I believe it's on Mararu, as he was clearing out on the screen as Greg Alexander was trying to get around, guarding Sieverding, going to the basket.
You're right. They've whistled Octave Morariu, who is now taking a seat on Greg McDermott's bench. And that's his first foul, the second on the Panthers. And another turnover as the Redbirds have the ball and a 3-point lead.
A little uncharacteristic of this Northern Iowa team with 6 turnovers already in the ball game. Usually with the players they have on the floor, very diligent taking care of the ball.
Jepson again. That one rimmed in and out. Maznowski to get the offensive board. His stick back is no good, though.
A tough shot from Maznowski. Usually he's more accustomed to dunking the ball in close, and that time he was a little short, laying it up off the glass.
From the outside, Foster's 3 is no good, and it's going to be a foul on Maznowski as he got tangled up that time with Gruber. Gruber getting better position on that play.
And Maznowski was fronting the post on that block on the shot by Foster and just didn't get around on the other side to block him out.
Officials timeout here at the Unidome, and the Redbirds lead the Panthers 12-9. Back in Cedar Falls, Redbirds and Northern Iowa Panthers with Illinois State leading 12-9. We mentioned that tonight is the senior night for Northern Iowa. ISU senior night is going to be on Monday at 6 o'clock at the early start time. You're seeing one of those seniors, Sean Jepson, make his 3 here, Matt.
Yeah, very good start for Jepson. 8 points out of the 12 for the Redbirds in the early going. Very critical start for the Birds.
So again, make note of Monday's start time at Redbird Arena is a 6 o'clock start time against Evansville, the regular season finale and senior night for guys like Sean Jepson and Randy Rice, Cedric Ford, Chad Mazanowski. From the outside, a 3 is in and out that time by Sieverding, who just has a couple of free throws to his name so far in the first 8.5 minutes.
And Casey Reed, just in the ball game, was able to get his hands on that rebound. Down and out that time on the shot by Sieverding.
Vince Green all the way down. He missed the shot. That time Gruber comes away with the rebound.
Boy, tough no call that time against Green as he went up, drew the contact, just wasn't able to draw the foul. And at the other end, Mazanowski does a good job of maintaining position on the drive to draw the charge.
Offensive foul is going to be whistled against Andy Woodley as he tried to go behind his head on that pass. But he ran right over Chad Mazanowski, who stood his ground and took the charge. And here's another look at the basket on the other end, or at least the play on the other end, with Vince Green missing the shot. It was contested nicely by Gruber.
Yeah, and Green did a good job of taking it to the basket. Had an angle, got it all the way to the bucket, just didn't get up high enough. And the official gave Gruber the benefit of the doubt of maintaining his position.
Reed's in the ball game. He just kicked the ball down to Bojang, had the ball knocked out of his hands, spinning on Gruber, turning and missing.
Bojang really a focus of attention for the defense of Northern Iowa as he had 23 against them in the game at normal.
Now it's Gruber spinning and missing the shot, and Reed back nicely to fight for the rebound.
Another great job by Reed going after the board. Bojang really trying to get on track offensively. Over 3 here in the start.
Under 10.5 to go here in the opening half. 12-9 Redbirds. Jepson threw it away that time as he got in the air and got himself hung up, couldn't do anything with it.
Poor movement that time on the offensive end for the Redbirds, really looking around at each other, not really focused on what they're supposed to be doing, and we saw that time Jepson got in the air, and that's a no-no on the offensive end. Don't leave your feet with the ball.
And Sean Jepson goes to the Redbird bench in favor of Cedric Ford, so the Birds have Reed, Bojang, Ford, Alexander, and Vince Green on the floor right now. It's Gruber, Middendorf, Sieverding, that's him with the basketball, Chris Foster, and Eric Smith on the floor for the Panthers.
As opposed to having Randy Rice guard Sieverding, the Redbirds are going after him with much bigger defenders. They like Greg Alexander. Now Casey Reed guarding him on the perimeter. That time Reed with the block.
Reed with a terrific block that time as he redirected Sieverding's shot. The Redbirds throwing everything at Sieverding they can tonight.
Reed's been very active off the bench for the Redbirds. 2 big rebounds and a nice block shot that time against Sieverding.
Ford thought about the lob, kicks over to Reed, who may have walked, and he did. Stutter step, and he's called for the travel.
Boy, Bojang's wide open inside over the top. They're just not looking at him inside and a little uncomfortable trying to make that pass. He's got good position inside against Gruber.
Neither team has really been able to get into any sort of an offensive flow. In fact, no points from either team in the last 3 minutes.
And 12 turnovers in the ball game for the 2 teams combined, 7 for Northern Iowa and 5 for the Redbirds.
Now Smith crossover, pull-up jumper is no good, and Bojang the rebound.
And that's 20% from the field, 3 out of 15 for Northern Iowa. They just can't buy a bucket in their own gym. Redbirds not necessarily lighting it up either, only 30%.
Bojang finally in the scorebook now. He's 1 out of 4 from the floor, and a much-needed basket maybe to get him going.
And offensively, Bojang's been very confident this season. He's had that wrist taped up for about the last 5 or 6 ball games. That's affected him a little bit, but he hasn't stopped looking for his shot opportunities.
Redbirds with a 5-point lead now. 14-9 matches their largest advantage of the game. Foster's shot rolls in.
A little slow getting over that screen by Vince Green. Nobody really helped him out inside the lane. Nice move that time by Foster. Got inside the lane, just rose up and took the shot.
Vince Green answers top of the key 3.
Foster just dared him to take that shot. Green came over the screen. Foster went underneath it, and Green just pulled up and knocked it down.
Green is a 43% shooter from beyond the three-point arch. He doesn't mind shooting those 3 balls at all when given the opportunity.
And that's the dimension that he gives the Redbirds off the bench as opposed to Randy Rice. Is a little bit more effective on that outside shot.
But he got a little too aggressive defensively that time with a hand check. And he's going to be called for the foul. It'll be his first, and it'll be the 5th against the Redbirds.
It was a good move that time by Foster, too. He was watching Vince Green. Green looked out of the corner of his eye momentarily to look for the screen, and as soon as he did that, Foster went by him to the left side and picked up the foul.
Redbirds have scored 10 of the game's last 12 points and have staked themselves to a 17-11 lead. Smith down the lane, nice move, and he laid it in.
That's really where Northern Iowa has been most effective on the offensive end, is getting the ball into the paint, and nobody's helping out defensively. And a lot of that's been with Andy Strandmark on the bench, too. So Bojang really hasn't stepped up into that role of trying to be the stopper inside.
Rice looks to Ford. Nice pass. Ford missed the shot. Tipped out and controlled by Eric Smith.
Well, there's a lot of contact underneath the basket that time. Ford went up, was almost laying parallel to the floor, and fell short on the shot.
Middendorf kicks out time to Matt Bennett, who knocked down a 3 as he just entered the ball game.
And that's not usually the production you'll get out of Northern Iowa's bench. But, you know, getting a big shot that time by Bennett. Redbirds a little slow and getting to the shooter out in the corner.
And it's a 1-point game now. Redbirds lead at 17-16 as we approach the 7-minute mark left in the half. Rice lobs down to Ford, and this time they cash in on the play.
And that time the high-low was there. No weak side defensive help that time by Northern Iowa, and a good catch and lay-in by Shedrick Ford.
Smart pass that time from Rice. Now a backdoor lob to Middendorf. Kick out to Woodley. Now Bennett. Top of the key. He knocks down his second straight tray.
Well, they were shooting 20% until Bennett came into the game, and now he's really lit a fire on them offensively to tie this ball game at 19.
And you'd think from seeing those two shots that he's a prolific three-point shooter, but he's only now 7 of 13 from the season, so he's not shot it very often, but certainly has shot it well tonight. Casey Reed, the offensive putback after the Bojang miss.
Good work on the offensive board that time by Casey Reed. Bennett was trying to block him out. He took the baseline side, was able to get his hands on the ball and back up quickly for the 2 points.
Now Bennett again. He's 3 out of 3 from the field, but that's just a 2, and we're tied at 21. And Matt Bennett, who's averaging just 1.7 points a game, has 8 points. He's energized the crowd, and he's tied the ball game up at 21. 6:12 to go till halftime. Redbirds and Panthers are all even here at the Unidome.
Grass is great when you're running through sprinklers. When you're swinging a club. There are millions of places for grass in this world, but your cornfield isn't one of them. Steadfast herbicide from DuPont beats the toughest grasses all season long.
The Olympics are here, and as Americans, we support the individuals competing as representatives of our great country. But as the games begin to wind down each day and nightfall comes, you still need your news. So CBS 31 is here to let you know we've got it, each and every night at 10 o'clock. So don't sit around and wait to get your news late. Get 10 at 10, only on CBS 31.
Redbirds and Panthers are tied at 21, and now a steal that time as Randy Rice's pass was picked off by Woodley, now in the front court.
Rice really didn't have the angle that time to try to get it in on the block, and the Redbirds now with their 6th turnover.
Bennett, who's got the hot hand. His shot rims off, and Middendorf the offensive board.
And
now
again,
he dribbles to the corner and shoots a 3.
And Bojang did not go after Middendorf on defensive boards once again. As soon as the shot went up, he went straight to the basket instead of finding his man and blocking him out.
And Aaron Middendorf, who just seemingly loves to play against Illinois State, now has 7 points, and the Panthers lead at 24-21. It's Northern Iowa's first lead since 10-9.
The lack of concentration right now by the Redbirds on both ends of the floor. Offensively, they had too many turnovers. Defensively, they're not blocking out.
But Greg Alexander was just fouled on a 3-point attempt from the corner, and he's going to get 3 free throws out of it.
And Middendorf, again, was after that shot. Very active here in the first half after that 3-point shot from the other end. He's got 7 points in the ball game. second behind Bennett. Randy Rice does a good job of trying to create some offense. Greg Alexander slides down to the corner as he goes up for the three. Middendorf runs into him. May have been after the shot, but he'll get it in the act of shooting.
3 free throws coming for Alexander, who shoots free throws at 74%. Milestone week for Alexander, who breaks the freshman record for three-point shots made in a season. He has 52 on the year, breaking Dan Muller's record of 50 set in the 1994-95 season. And he's also on pace to break Muller's freshman minutes played record. So Greg Alexander putting a cap on what has been a terrific first year at Illinois State.
Just a solid all-around player. Plays for his father, Neil Alexander, at Lincoln. One of those coach's sons type of player, just really productive.
Alexander makes all 3 free throws, and he has tied this basketball game up. It's Illinois State 24 and Northern Iowa 24. 5:05 to play until halftime here at the Unidome. Back with you here in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Illinois State and Northern Iowa tied at 24. Second to last game of the season for the Redbirds, who start the night tied for third place with Southwest Missouri State in the Missouri Valley standings. A critical game for the Redbirds, who will then finish up the regular season at home Monday night against Evansville. And a steal now by Randy Rice. Quickly ahead to Jepson, all the way down, and he laid it in.
And Jepson got his hand on that ball, too. They worked on this in the shoot-around today about that lob after the pass it to the wing. They go around on a back screen. Jepson got his hands up and may have tipped that ball as Randy Rice intercepted it. Andy Strandmark back in the game now for the Redbirds. See if he can help the Redbirds out on the boards. They're down 15-9 in the rebounds so far in this ball game.
Jepson 3 out of 5 from the field now. He has 8 of the Redbirds' 26. We're under 4.5 to play till halftime. 8 on the shot clock now. Bennett lost the dribble. He gets it into Anderson, who's just checking in the ball game. 4 to shoot. His pass intended for Gruber. Tipped around and controlled by Bojang, and now he leads the break. He gives it up to Jepson. He thinks about the 3. Now from the wing, his shot is no good. Couple of bodies on the floor, no call. Anderson rips it down now for Northern Iowa.
Just enough hesitation that time by Jepson. Wasn't able to snap into his shot.
Smith missed the 3 as he was defended nicely that time by Rice. Now it's Jepson and Rice. Two-man game. Laid it in. Give and go that time. Rice to Jepson.
Great job by Jepson. Gave it by Rice. Gave it to Jepson just at the right time for him to lay that ball in. Good work by the 2 seniors down the floor of passing the ball back and forth. That's the type of activity or action you want to see. Not dribbling the ball up the floor, but passing back and forth, make the defense continue to turn their head.
Sean Jepson off to another fast start. Let's take a quick look at that last play. We mentioned that he hit his first 6 shots from the floor on Saturday's victory over Southern Illinois. But here, Rice and Jepson play catch on the break.
And again, as I just said, the ball doesn't touch the floor once it gets across half court. They pass it back and forth to make that defender try to guard two players, not knowing who's going to take the shot. Randy Rice gave it to Sean Jepson just at the right moment to go up and lay it in left-handed.
And Jepson, the first player tonight to be in double figures. He has 10. Jepson is averaging 11.9, so he's almost at his season average, and we still have better than 3 minutes to go here in the opening half.
This game continues to be a game of point swings. The Redbirds have come back with 7 unanswered points after the 3 by Middendorf to now take a 4-point lead.
28-24, Redbirds with the lead. Sieverding lobs down low. Foster had a shot blocked by Strandmark, but he's fouled.
Boy, Chris Foster gets inside on the lob, and he's all of about 5'11" in there, and he was able to draw the foul against 6'11" Andy Strandmark.
Yeah, 5'10", and Foster's done that play a couple of times, and he's going to get to the foul line that time. The foul is on Strandmark, and that's his second and the team's 5th.
And Foster's got a great vertical leap, but still, to get a guy like that inside and draw the foul against the 6'11" Strandmark, a little bit of a mismatch.
5'10" and 195 pounds is Foster, and he plays a little bit more like a forward, wouldn't you say, Matt, than a guard?
He really does, but he really provides them with a lot of versatility out there, handles the ball well, will shoot it when he's open, really kind of the playmaker on that team, and what's allowed is Sieverding to get more of the offensive opportunities with him playing the point.
Missed the first free throw and the second, and Ford gets the rebound. Under 3.5 to go opening half. Redbirds with a 28-24 lead. Rice looks for Jepson, who's got the hot hand. Now it's Alexander working the far baseline.
Good step out that time by Shedrick Ford to help Alexander as he was trapped down in the corner.
Rice dribbles to the paint all the way down. Left-hander, can't get it. Middendorf, his 4th rebound of the night.
Yeah, may have gone to that left hand too early. Looked as if he might have had an opportunity to get up there with his right hand as really the defense played off and anticipated the pass from Randy Rice.
A reach-in foul that time whistled against Illinois State as Sieverding drove down the lane. And we've got another timeout on the floor. Exactly 3 minutes to go till halftime. Illinois State leads Northern Iowa here in Cedar Falls, 28-24. With you, Unidome, Cedar Falls, Iowa, where the Redbirds lead the Panthers here 28-24, just under 3 minutes to go until halftime.
Now, out-of-bounds play, something Northern Iowa is very effective at on the offensive end. Illinois State worked on this extensively in the shoot-around today again, and Randy Rice that time was able to tip the ball out of bounds.
Sieverding guarded by Greg Alexander. Now it's Middendorf for 3 from the wing. It's short. He got his own rebound, and he's fouled by Shedrick Ford.
And Shedrick Ford, again, I can't stress this enough, it did not block out. All he did was turn and watch the flight of the ball, and as it came straight back, Middendorf beat him to the ball. And if you don't block out, you're going to miss a lot of those opportunities. Well, and that's just a hustle play. And right now, you know, Northern Iowa has an 18-11 advantage on the boards, and a lot of it is right there. They're not blocking out, and they're hustling the ball.
I look at Middendorf's statistics. He's averaging just about 10 points and 5 rebounds a game. But every time we see him, he looks like an all-conference first-teamer.
He really does. Well, a lot of that's due to the fact that he's such a versatile player. He's got a nice shot from the perimeter. He runs the floor very well. He can handle the ball. He drives the basket. He's strong inside. Goes to the boards. He just does all the little things well, and he'll play 35 minutes a ball game.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Greg McDermott is going to miss this guy when he graduates. Both he and Sieverding part of this graduating class. But Middendorf is just one of those gutty, blue-collar performers. And as Matt says, he'll do anything for you. He'll shoot from the outside. He'll score from the inside. He'll block a shot. He'll get a rebound. He's got 5 boards already right now, so he's already at his average per game.
And leading away with 9 points. And, you know, here in the first half, already basically at his average at almost 9.8.
Right. It's a 2-point Redbird lead now. Mazanowski's back in the game. That's him with the ball. To Jepson, pump fake, and now shoot the 3.
Good recovery that time by Foster to get back to the shot of Jepson. Was able to get him off his feet with the pump fake.
Now it's Foster off the dribble with Randy Rice in his face, and he hits a 3 in transition, and Northern Iowa's up by a point.
Tough shot that time by Foster. We talked about his vertical lead. That time he was able to get up to the basket.
Bojang gets hammered, and he's going to score. He got hit on his noggin by the foot of Aaron Middendorf.
And we talked about Bojang drawing some attention on the defensive end for Northern Iowa. Watch this nice shot fake. But Middendorf kind of catches him with that back foot as he's going by off the shot fake by Bojang. Bojang was still able to get it up in the basket, and now goes to the free throw line for a 3-point opportunity.
Bojang can't cash in on the free throw, but the Redbirds have a 30-29 advantage. 4 points now for Babakar.
The first miss on the evening for the Redbirds. 5 out of 6 now from the free throw line.
Under 2 minutes to go here in this opening half. Gruber, triple team, kicks out to Sieverding, who gets hammered that time by Jepson.
And you can't leave Sieverding out on the floor. That time they triple teamed Gruber down on the block, and Jepson came down on top of him to guard him. And, you know, he's got to understand who he's guarding out on the floor. He's guarding Robbie Sieverding, who will more than likely be one of the first-team all-conference players here from the Missouri Valley Conference, a senior. And that time Jepson came down to triple team on the block against Gruber, and then picked up the foul as he was slow recovering to Sieverding.
The reason why Sieverding was upset is he wanted to say that he was in the act of shooting and get 2 shots, but instead he's just rewarded with 1 in the bonus, and he's going to get the bonus free throw after making that foul shot.
And his foot was on the line, so even if he would have been awarded the act of shooting foul, he would have only been shooting 2 shots.
But he makes both free throws, and now the lead is back to Northern Iowa, 31-30. Under 2 minutes to go here in the half.
Northern Iowa has done a very good job of keeping Bojang under control in the defensive set.
Jepson to Mazanowski working the baseline.
Good penetration that time by Jepson. Found Mazanowski just kind of wandering around the baseline, and Maz got a nice easy lay-in from underneath the bucket.
First 2 points for Mazanowski, and now it's Smith for 3 from the outside.
And poor recognition that time by Jepson defensively. He was pointing at somebody else to take his man and instead forgot where Eric Smith was. And Smith is a very good three-point shooter. Knocked down the big three.
Rice on the baseline now, and he traveled.
He just drug that back foot that time and a little out of control that time. Northern Iowa does a very good job of shutting off that baseline and not allowing Bojang to get the ball in on the block.
Right now, the Panthers are shooting 46% from the three-point arc.
And a lot of those are with a guy right in their face.
Yeah, they've made
Rice has been right
them.
on some, and Foster, the last big three he hit, and just the other time down the floor, Smith was able to get wide open. He's really hot right now, getting some good looks.
Eric Smith, another three. The Panthers have hit 7 three-point shots here in the first half and have their largest lead of the game. It's a 5-point lead, and the fans here at the Unidome are on their feet for the final 20 seconds.
Redbirds just fell asleep defensively the last few times down the floor, and Eric Smith made them pay.
And the Redbirds are in dire need of a hoop here prior to halftime.
They're slow getting into their offense.
Rice down, pull-up jumper. That's good. A big basket for the senior from Springfield right when the Redbirds needed it, and time has expired. So the Redbirds deflate a little bit of that momentum, but Northern Iowa still heads to the locker room with a 3-point halftime lead. It's Northern Iowa 37 and Illinois State 34. Halftime here in Cedar Falls at the Unidome. Just beating the buzzer, he hits the pull-up jumper here to pull Illinois State within 3 at 37-34, the last play of the half. The Redbirds certainly needed a little momentum stopper here because Northern Iowa had run off a big run. Kurt Pegler, Matt Taphorn with you halftime here at the Unidome. Matt, the Redbirds really not defending the three-point shot very well for the Panthers.
They're not. Prior to that basket, they were on Northern Iowa was on a 13-4 run. The 3 field goals they made were all from three-point range. They've got 7 three-point shots they've made in the first half out of 14, shooting 50% from the three-point range. And right now, the rebounding is 20-11. So Illinois State just not doing a good job of going after the boards, and Northern Iowa's getting some second-chance opportunities.
Now, you know the Panthers are going to try to keep it up here in the second half. The Redbirds will try to turn things around. Halftime here at Cedar Falls, 37-34 Panthers. Up next, the news update with Lee Ross. Halftime at the Unidome, where the Northern Iowa Panthers lead Illinois State's Redbirds 37-34. Let's take a look at some of those first half highlights that shaped the first 20 minutes of play here in Cedar Falls.
Sean Jepson, a very big first half with 12 points for the Redbirds to lead the way. Defensively, he really got his hands on a lot of balls. That created some offense at the other end. Here laying in 2 of those 12. And again, without hesitation from the perimeter knocks down a big 3. He had 2 3-point field goals in the first half. But from Northern Iowa, they've done their damage on the perimeter as well. Block shot that time by Casey Reed. Bojang with one of his 2 buckets in the first half. He has 4 points. And again, for Northern Iowa, Matt Bennett off the bench to score 8 points, 2 big 3-point shots. And then we also have Chris Foster in a pull-up with Randy Rice right in his face to drain that big 3.
Well, when you take a look at the first half stats, you say that Illinois State is shooting a better percentage from the floor, 48% as opposed to 44% for Northern Iowa. But what's really being won and lost, the Panthers are 7 of 14 for 50% from the three-point line, where the Birds are just 3 of 8. And then, of course, the rebounding differential, 20 rebounds for the Panthers and 11 rebounds for the Redbirds.
When you shoot that well from the three-point range, you're going to negate some of that ineffective shot selection inside that arc. And the Redbirds have been in their face on occasion, but a couple of times they've let Eric Smith get freed up from that three-point area as well.
Randy Rice is the lone Redbird in double figures. He has 12 points to lead ISU. Eric Smith has 11 to lead the Panthers, and we are underway here in the second half with Northern Iowa starting with a basketball. Robbie Sieverding hangs, fires. He missed the shot, and it's Andy Strandmark with the defensive board.
And good help defensively down near the bucket that time by Strandmark and Shedrick Ford as Sieverding had an angle on Alexander, took him to the basket.
Both teams open the second half with the same 5 that started the basketball game. That means it's Jepson, Rice, Ford, Strandmark, and Alexander for the Birds. And for Northern Iowa, it's Eric Smith, Robbie Sieverding, Chris Foster, Aaron Middendorf, and David Gruber. 37-34. Northern Iowa with a 3-point lead. The Panthers this season are 10-1 in games in which they've led at halftime. The Redbirds are 4-11 in games in which they've trailed at the break. Alexander's three to try to tie the game. Missed the shot. Gruber the board.
Good ball moved at that time by the Redbirds. The defense that time for Northern Iowa was in a 2-3 after the out-of-bounds play. And that time Jepson does get to the shot of Eric Smith.
And he's fouled in the backcourt by Foster. Terrific play that time by Sean Jepson. He came over, he deflected the three-point shot, grabbed the loose ball, and then was fouled in the backcourt.
And what that will do is to make Eric Smith think twice before he goes up with that three-point shot. That time Jepson was able to get to the shot and block it with his left hand and was able to draw the foul that time against Chris Foster as well.
That's Foster's first of the night and the first here in the second half against the Panthers.
And Eric Smith right on Sean Jepson as he came off that screen, not allowing him to get a good look at the three-point shot.
Here's Shedrick Ford's fadeaway jumper. It's no good. Strandmark goes and tips, but he's going to be called for the offensive foul.
Ford just didn't have a good release or a good snap into that shot at all. Really hesitant as he took the shot and was off the mark that time, and Andy Strandmark's going to pick up his third foul over the back.
Scoreless here in the second half in the first minute and a half. And a foul away from the ball. It's Strandmark's fourth. So in the first 86 seconds of the second half, Andy Strandmark has put himself into deep foul trouble by picking up his third and now his fourth foul.
And those are just silly fouls that Strandmark's picking up right now. Doesn't have position on one end, goes over the back. On the defensive end, instead of just playing big and keeping his hands up, he tries to reach over and deny the pass into the post and picks up two quick fouls here in the second half.
And off the inbounds pass, Middendorf is fouled. He cut to the basket, and Smith gave him a bounce pass.
And that's that out-of-bounds play underneath the basket. Northern Iowa really tries to get some easy baskets out of. Shedrick Ford that time had his head turned to the ball and didn't see the pass coming into Middendorf.
The Panthers run so many of those sets, especially off the inbounds play. They can throw so many things at you.
If you can score 2 or 3 buckets a game on the out-of-bounds plays, you've really got an advantage against the defense.
Sieverding fouled by Alexander, and that's the third team foul. Check that, the fourth team foul whistled against the Redbirds in the first minute and a half here in the second half.
And, that time Alexander wasn't ready defensively, and Sieverding went by him on the perimeter. Alexander a little late getting over and was reaching in on the play.
Now Sieverding with Alexander on him. Penetrates, kicks out to Middendorf, thought about the three. Gave it up. 20 on the shot clock here.
And a lot of the defensive pressure out on the floor. That's the 5th team foul now on the Redbirds. Bojang's going to be called inside.
So we've played less than 2 minutes here in the second half, and the Redbirds have 5 team fouls.
I'm having a hard time figuring out that there's actually 2 ends of the floor here. We've been down on this end of the floor for about a minute and a half.
You saw the look on the Bojang foul. That's his second. And again, we're scoreless here in the opening 2 minutes of the second half, but there have been 6 whistles, 5 fouls against the Redbirds and 1 against the Panthers. Here's Sieverding now, backs in on Rice, works the baseline and lost the ball out of bounds. So there's a turnover that time.
And the crowd wanted another foul. It's already 5-1 in this half.
Robbie Sieverding, had a few words that time with Terry Davis, and now Greg McDermott is trying to get Terry Davis's ear.
And I think Davis has heard just about enough. Neither team has scored here in this second half.
Rice, pump fake, step inside, fadeaway baseline jumper, and Randy Rice now has 14 points.
Nice elevation that time on the baseline by Rice. Took what the defense gave him. Little shot fake to get Foster off his feet. And then when the defense tried to stay with Bojang, he just rose up high and was able to knock down that little 5 to 8 foot jump shot.
I'm sorry, that's 6 points now for Randy Rice. 6 points for Rice, and a fadeaway jumper now with Sieverding, his first basket from the field.
And Sieverding that time used his strength inside against Rice. And that'll be the 6th team foul against the Redbirds.
Offensive foul that time against Illinois State. Shedrick Ford setting the illegal screen.
That's a foul that had absolutely nothing to do with the outcome of the play and wasn't a real, high contact foul, and the official just made the call anyway. That's the type of call that you don't get when you're on the road.
And so Northern Iowa is already in the bonus.
Northern Iowa, very effective free throw shooting team at 72% on the year. Next foul put the Redbirds in the bonus. It's only 3 minutes played here in the second half.
Gruber dropped the ball out of bounds on the bounce pass from Sieverding, so another turnover, the second one of the half for the Panthers. It's still just a 3-point game as Northern Iowa has a 39-36 lead. Now Alexander shoots for the tie, and we're even.
That's Alexander's first bucket since that lay-in early on. Check that. He has 8 points now in the ball game. At that time, he was able to get freed up, got his shoulder square, and knocked down the big three.
His first three-point make of the night. He has 53 three-pointers on the season. That is a freshman record at Illinois State. Sieverding drives, kicked it over. Gruber spinning, put it up high off the glass, couldn't get it. Middendorf comes down with it. It's rejected out of there by Bojang.
A lot of contact there on that possession. Redbirds able to avoid the foul.
Jepson missed the three. Middendorf cleared for the Panthers. We're tied at 39 here. We've played 4 minutes into the second half. Sieverding down. Pump fake. Stripped that time by Jepson.
Good little hesitation dribble out on the perimeter that time by Sieverding to get to the bucket away from Randy Rice.
Foster missed the three, and Ford comes down with it for the Birds. So the action is picked up a little bit after all those foul whistles in the first 2 minutes of the half. Now Ford, lob down to Bojang for the jam.
And it's the first time they've taken advantage of that with Bojang inside. That's been there the last few times down the floor between Shedrick Ford and Babacar Bojang, and that time he was able to lay it in over the rim.
Bojang with 6. The Redbird lead is 2. The first time Illinois State's led here in the second half. 41-39 the score here at the Unidome. Just over 15 minutes left here in regulation.
The Birds in a 2-3 zone. They really need to identify where the shooters are in this zone and not give them wide open shots.
Sieverding misses the three. So Northern Iowa, after torching the Birds from the three-point line in the first half, has yet to make a triple here in the second half. Now it's Rice down, and he's going to get a foul.
We'll draw that on the drive to the lane, so he will not go to the line, and the Redbirds will get the ball out of bounds underneath their own basket.
Exactly 15 minutes to go here in regulation. Timeout on the floor. ISU has jumped in front of the Panthers. 41-39. A lot of basketball left to be played here in Cedar Falls. Babacar Bojang's lay-in here has given the Redbirds a 2-point advantage. But, Matt, you think that something might be a little amiss with his knee, huh?
Well, after that high-low pass, he grimaced after that shot. He didn't really get much elevation and dunked that ball down. His knee kind of buckled when he tried to get himself planted to go up to the basket. He's back in the ball game now for the Redbirds.
Bojang, who had 23 points in the previous meeting between these two squads in normal, has 6 now here at Cedar Falls. Redbirds with a basketball and a 2-point lead.
Northern Iowa will stay in that 2-3 zone as well after the out-of-bounds possession. See if the Redbirds can free somebody out on the perimeter.
It's Alexander from the other side, missed the shot, and a big-time collision that time with Chad Mazanowski, but the ball's out of bounds, no foul call.
Well, Mazanowski just went up to go grab somebody. He didn't go after that ball very hard. Good penetration that time by Randy Rice to free up the shot from the wing by Alexander. Just didn't get it to go down.
Redbirds stay in their 2-3 zone now. Middendorf, pump fake, skip pass. That time almost intercepted by Rice.
You can see Northern Iowa with 4 players out on the perimeter on the offensive end behind that 3-point line. They've got 4 very effective 3-point shooters on the floor right now.
Bojang spinning on the baseline. This shot is short and tipped out that time and controlled by Sieverding now. 3-on-2 if he hurries.
Good hustle by Foster that time to get his hands on the ball on the rebound.
And a nice spin move by Robbie Sieverding, and we're back even at 41.
Good reverse dribble that time by Sieverding. Once, twice, was able to get the lane to the basket. It was all created by the hustle play by Chris Foster at the other end on the rebound.
Rice was playing good defense on that possession, tried to chase him to the left side, but he just spun around it. And Jepson is fouled that time as he penetrated.
Eric Smith on the foul as he was a little slow in getting to Jepson on the perimeter. That'll be the 3rd team foul against Northern Iowa.
Casey Reed and Vince Green are going to check in for the Redbirds, and Matt Bennett, who had the hot hand with 8 first-half points, comes back in for Northern Iowa. It's Foster and Smith that go to Greg McDermott's bench. So the Birds have Mazanowski, Bojang, Reed, Jepson, and Vince Green on the floor here. It's Woodley, Sieverding, Middendorf, Gruber and Bennett on the floor right now for the Panthers. 13.5 here to go in regulation. 41-41 basketball game. Jepson, pump fake, step inside the three-point arch, missed the shot, long rebound, gets, Bennett has it. Now he gives it up to Woodland.
And that was one of those situations Jepson didn't necessarily need that shot fake. He had the open shot, hesitated, was able to get the defender off of him, but stepped inside the three-point line and was still off on the shot.
Sieverding hit the deck. Fans wanted a foul, and Jepson with another block. He's been aggressive on the perimeter defensively.
He has been, and that's the one thing the Birds did not do a very good job of in the first half, is challenging that three-point shot. And Jepson's doing a very good job of getting to the shooter, not drawing the contact on the foul, but getting his hands on the ball.
And now a steal that time by Jepson. He tries to chase it down in the Panthers' backcourt. Loose ball on the floor, and a timeout that time called by the Panthers. Boy,
I didn't
Jepson
see Bennett calling the
out.
timeout. I don't know if Sieverding was calling it from behind him, because I didn't see Bennett calling the timeout. It looked like his hands were just on the ball. Good hustle play that time by Jepson.
Well, that's what Tom Richardson went. Tom Richardson, I can read his lips from here, is saying, who called timeout? He's saying who had the ball and who called timeout. He's not happy at all with that call.
I didn't see Bennett call a timeout. Sieverding was right behind the play. He may have called that timeout, but Tom Richardson was standing right there. He couldn't hear it. See if you can see Bennett's hands on the ball calling a timeout. Yeah, see, I can't see his hands signaling. He may have been yelling for one, or Sieverding, as I said on the play, may have been calling for a timeout. But 11 seconds on the shot clock on that loose ball still for the... They can't afford to drop a game here and slip into that Friday night play-in game. Right now they're kind of on the bubble for that Friday game in the 7th seed category, and they want to take care of business here at home. Birds still in that 2-3. Now with Eric Smith on the bench, see if they can identify the shooters. 1
second left on the shot clock. Sieverding misses the three. Mazanowski comes down with it. So the Panthers are now 0 of 4 in three-point shots here in the second half.
Good
and now it's
pass.
Bojang off the glass and in.
Nice entry pass that time by Mazanowski. Made the bounce pass into the open hand for Bojang. Bojang just turned and laid it in off the glass.
Bojang with 4 points in the second half. 8 on the game. And the Redbird lead is now 43-41.
And Bennett back in the ball game. They need to get to him from three-point range as well.
From the corner, Middendorf misses the three. 0 of 5 now from three-point line.
And they have gone cold after shooting 50% in the first half. It's all or nothing right now for the Northern Iowa Panthers.
And you're right, their offensive set. They have 3 or 4 guys on the perimeter just waiting at the ring. Now Jepson, stutter step down the lane, kick it off to Mazanowski. Offensive foul on Sean Jepson.
Well, I didn't see either one of the outside officials signal for it. They raised their hand to stop the play, but didn't signal for that offensive foul. However, the baseline official did, and Jepson will be called for his second foul in the team's 7th.
And we've got a timeout on the floor. 11:52 to go here at Cedar Falls. It's shaping up to be a good one. Don't go anywhere, folks. Illinois State leads Northern Iowa 43-41. This is what Edward Jones is all about. Creighton, already a winner atop the conference standings with 1 game to go, have guaranteed themselves at least a share of the championship. Southern Illinois has already won. They have 13 wins, but you see Illinois State and Southwest Missouri State, this game is so important. Both the Redbirds and the Bears are tied for 3rd at the start of tonight's action. Now from the corner, it's Bennett, and he hits the three, and he's fouled.
And Mazanowski, I noticed the first time that ball went down to the corner to Bennett, he was slow rotating out there. And that time, slow once again. Bennett went up for the shot, and he was just too slow in getting out there. That gives Bennett 11 points in this game, and he'll go to the line. And that's the first three-point shot that Northern Iowa has hit here in the second half in 6 attempts.
And Matt Bennett, who averages just 1.7 points a game, has really given the Panthers a lift off their bench.
You know, we talked about the bench lack of production for them. In the game at Illinois State, the Redbirds outscored them 31-6 from the bench, and already he has 11 points for Northern Iowa.
Make it 12 on the free throw. He has already equaled now his career high. He's a freshman from Woodbury, Minnesota. He's played very well tonight, 4 out of 6 from the field, with 3 of those 4 makes from the three-point line. So it's a 43 lead for the Panthers.
And
Shedrick Ford the miss.
Northern Iowa's gone to a diamond and one defense with Bennett staying with Sean Jepson. That time, short arm shot once again by Shedrick Ford was off the rim.
Greg Alexander is back at the scorer's table. He'll come in at the next whistle.
The Birds have gone back to their man-to-man, leaving that 2-3, which I think is a smart move. A 2-3 just makes those shooters' eyes light up.
From the outside, Middendorf.
And no block out.
Yeah, his shot is short, and he got his own rebound.
That's about the third or fourth time he's got an offensive rebound off of his own shot.
Bennett lost the dribble, hands to Sieverding, who penetrates, hangs, fires, comes up short, and it's Bojang the board.
Northern Iowa in this ballgame with 10.5 minutes to play has 32 rebounds. They only average 30 rebounds a game and are last in the league in rebound margin.
And a foul now against Northern Iowa. And it's going to be whistled against David Gruber. That'll be his first, and it'll be the team's fourth here in the second half. And Alexander re-enters the game for the Redbirds and sends Sean Jepson to the bench.
We'll see if Northern Iowa stays in that diamond and one as Jepson goes to the bench. It looks as if they will. Starting Alexander with that man-to-man.
You mentioned the rebound differential for Northern Iowa. It's been a sore spot with them. They lost Joe Breckenridge to graduation. He was one of the better rebounders in the entire country last year. It's Green now, penetrating, kick out to Casey Reed. Now it's the corner. It's Shedrick Ford with a nice short jump shot from the baseline. Nicely done.
Ford with a better follow-through that time on that shot. The opposite baseline, the previous possession, kind of short-armed it. That time he snapped into his shot and stayed with it. Birds back in that 2-3 zone defense.
And we're back tied at 45. Gruber. Backs in. Draws a double team. Lost the dribble, looking for help. Now it's Sieverding with 10 on the shot clock. And a three from up top that time is missed.
Casey Reed almost traveled with the ball, coming away with that big defensive rebound.
Now it's Green. Foster on that miss of the three. Now in the corner it's Reed. Works the baseline. He's in trouble. Lost the dribble. Now out to Ford. Lost the ball on the floor. Hangs, fires, and scores. And a three-point opportunity now for Shedrick Ford.
Birds fortunate on that play. Casey Reed was really down on the baseline with nowhere to go. Ford was able to corral that ball in the lane and go up strong inside. As we'll take a look at Casey Reed. Again, driving to the baseline. Good double team inside by Gruber. Reed with kind of a floating pass outside. Middendorf was able to get his hands on it. Ford corralled the ball and was able to get it in. And a nice roll on the visitor's rim.
And now Shedrick Ford, who earned a start tonight, has an opportunity for the three-point play. He makes good on the foul shot. So Shedrick Ford in a starting role now has 8 points, and the Redbirds have a three-point lead.
This is the biggest lead the Redbirds have had since they were up 28-24 prior to that big 13-4 run near the end of the first half by the Panthers.
Foster all the way down. Missed the shot, tipped out. Vince Green has it for the Birds. Crossover dribble on Bennett. Now it's Reed, and it's going to be...
stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, and stepped on the sideline.
Reed that time was a little too close to the sideline as he caught the ball, and when he moved that foot backwards to get a push off, stepped on the sideline.
10th turnover now for the Redbirds.
Reed has played very well for the Birds off the bench, very active here in this ballgame.
He's done a nice job defensively. And he's given up a few inches on Gruber.
And the Birds staying in this zone defense. And Northern Iowa really trying to find an opening from the three-point range.
Seven on the shot clock. Smith from way out. He misses, and Reed back on the defensive backboard.
Reed once again, his sixth rebound, I believe, in this ballgame.
Now Green left open. His three is good. Nothing but net.
What a big shot by the freshman on the road to give the Redbirds a 6-point cushion.
And right when the Panthers were struggling from the three-point arch, Vince Green calmly knocks one down. He's got 2 3-pointers tonight. Bennett down to Gruber. Nice pass. Gruber's fouled that time by Casey Reed.
It'll be a one-and-one shot opportunity at the line with the 9th team foul by the Redbirds, and Gruber will go to the line. And that's the one area that the Redbirds are susceptible to in this 2-3 defense, is inside. Bojang is getting too far out to the free throw line and not helping out as much in on the block.
And so David Gruber, the 6'6" sophomore, the transfer from Kirkwood Community College, goes to the foul line. And he rolls that first shot in. He leads the Missouri Valley Conference in field goal percentage at 62%. In fact, he's in the top 5 in the country at last check.
Plays very hard inside, very strong.
6 double-doubles this year. One of the bright young stars of the Missouri Valley. Just a sophomore. He makes both free throws and cuts the Illinois State lead to 4. ISU, with 7:49 left here, leads Northern Iowa 51-47 with a timeout on the floor. And Angel, you can still see it. Tune in or set your VCR. Falls. Kurt Pegler, Matt Taphorn with you. Redbird basketball here on CBS 31 with Illinois State leading 51-47. 7:49 left here in this basketball game.
And Northern Iowa's really cooled off in the second half. After shooting 44%, they're at 33 right now. Only 3 out of 18 in this half.
Blake Anderson has checked into the ball game for the Panthers. He's big number 45. Now it's Vince Green to Ford. Pump fake from the foul line. Take it down. Hang, fire, collision. Got it back. Put it up and get to the foul line.
Well, I can't believe they didn't call the foul the first time. A lot of contact inside, and Ford did a good job of staying after. Bojang actually tipped it on the offensive rebound back to Ford, and he was able to get a second opportunity. A good penetration once again for the freshman Vince Green.
And Ford has done a great job recently from the foul line. He's shooting better than 76%. Now 2 of 2 from the foul line tonight. We mentioned that he got a start tonight in place of Babakar Bojang in his last 10 games. He's come off the bench as a reserve and been terrific, averaging better than 11 points a game as a reserve player. He splits his free throws here, and the Redbird lead is 5 at 52-47. And Foster spins on Green, pump fakes, and now gives out to Sieverting.
Birds back to a man-to-man. This possession down the floor, changing up their defense out of the timeout.
Sieverting spins and scores.
Great movement that time. Little up and under move by Robbie Sieverting. Got Vince Green off of his feet. Good move by the senior.
And the leading scorer for the Panthers, who's averaging 17.5 points a night, now is in double figures at 10. Green is going to be called for a charge.
Green just took it too far that time and got himself into trouble. Had the lane, and Ford was coming down the lane, but just his momentum took him into Sieverting, and Sieverting drew the charge.
And now Randy Rice is back in the game, and Vince Green goes to the Redbird bench. So the Redbirds have Rice, Alexander, Jepson, Bojang, and Ford on the floor right now. And the Redbirds have switched from a man-to-man defense into a zone. From the corner, it's Bennett. His shot is no good, and it's corralled by Jepson.
Birds has done a better job of tracking down those defensive boards as of late. Smith, again, unable to knock it down from three-point range.
Jepson thought about the 3. 11 seconds on the shot clock now. Now it's Bojang. 6 to shoot. 5 to shoot. Rice hangs, fires, can't get it, tipped out that time, and it's controlled by Northern Iowa's Chris Foster. And he's going to take it all the way down coast to coast, put up a shot, can't get it, tipped off the rim, no call. Middendorf puts the offensive board back and in.
Again, that's a hustle play that Middendorf will give you on your team. Goes after the offensive rebound and lays it back in. Middendorf now 11 points and 9 rebounds in the ballgame.
And it's a 1-point basketball game, 52-51 Illinois State. Jepson down the lane, and it's going to be a call against whom?
Now the call was out on the floor on the drive by Jepson. That'll be the 7th team foul for Northern Iowa, so Jepson will go to the line for 1 in bonus.
Eric Smith is the guilty party. That's going to be his 2nd foul. The 7th team foul for the Panthers now. The Redbirds are shooting 1 and 1. Redbirds are already over the double bonus limit with 10 fouls as a team here in the second half.
And they were actually in bonus with about 15 minutes in the ball game, and Northern Iowa never got to the line to shoot bonus opportunities. The free throws that they did shoot were on a foul shooting opportunity.
And so ISU's best free throw shooter, Sean Jepson, makes both of his foul shots. And Jeff is having another outstanding game. Give him 14 points, and the Redbird lead is 3.
And if this gets into a free throw shooting contest down the stretch, both teams very effective Mentioned Northern Iowa at 72%. The Redbirds is nearly 78%.
And a steal that time. Bojang picks Gruber. And now Jepson spins nicely all the way down with the left hand up
And
in.
one. Jepson is so good with that left hand inside on the transition. Defensive move that time by, I believe it was Sieverding, trying to draw the charge, and Jepson did a good job of sliding to avoid the contact. And again, with that left hand, lays it up off the glass and is able to get it to go down.
Sensational play for the senior from Spring Valley Hall. And an opportunity for a three-point play and a Redbird lead of 4. He can't make the foul shot, though, and Gruber comes down with a rebound.
And they finally gave him credit for the basket. Now the Birds up by 5.
Shot no good, but Middendorf was there for the lay-in. You're right. I was looking at that scoreboard, and they had yet to register the basket. So it's a three-point lead now after the made shot by Middendorf.
And
13 points now for
Jepson's
Middendorf.
done a great job here in the second half of pressuring that three-point shot. That time he was able to bother Foster. But again, right there on the spot was Middendorf. Lays it back in, 13 points and 10 rebounds, another double-double for Aaron Middendorf.
Alexander to Jepson. His three ball is up and no good, and it's Sieverding the long rebound.
Birds not looking very fluid defensively.
Sieverding all the way down, and he's going to get to the free throw line that time as he beat Shedrick Ford down the floor and drew the foul against him.
And poor defensive transition that time by the Birds. Long rebound on the other end after the three-point miss by Jepson. And slow to recognize Sieverding coming down the floor, getting to the basket once again and drawing the foul against Shedrick Ford.
4 fouls now against Shedrick Ford. And Randy Rice will come in the basketball game and see who he sends to the bench. Sieverding's second free throw is good. So the Redbirds have Alexander, Jepson, Rice, Bojang, and Ford on the floor. Meanwhile, it's Woodley, Middendorf, Sieverding, Gruber, and Matt Bennett now on the floor for Northern Iowa. It's a 56-55 Redbird lead. ISU with the basketball as we approach the 4-minute mark left here at the Unidome.
Rice almost picked up a 5-second call out on the perimeter as Chris Foster, not Foster, but Woodley was guarding him on the perimeter.
And Ford got hacked as he penetrated that time. Alexander's pass was intended for Bojang. It was tipped to Ford, and he made the best of a bad situation.
Ford's really played with a higher level of intensity here in the second half. Really picked it up. He's got 8 points in the ball game after a first half of only 2.
And Ford has been terrific, as we mentioned, in the last month from the foul line. He's picked up much of his point total from the free throw line. And the senior from Macon, Georgia, makes both foul shots. And it's back to a three-point Redbird advantage.
Birds still in their zone defense. It's actually a 1-3-1. Shedrick Ford running the baseline. He has the responsibility of getting to both corners. A lot of area to cover down there. And again, Bojang playing a little high on the defensive end near the free throw line.
Sieverding for 3, missed, and the long rebound to Jepson.
A lot of long rebounds in this game. The Birds have done a much better job here in the second half of getting after those long rebounds. In the first half, Northern Iowa got the majority of them.
Redbirds now with a basketball and a 3-point lead at the 3.5-minute mark left in this one. Ford pump fake, looks for help, gives it to Rice. 14 on the shot clock. And Woodley's on the floor, and it's going to be a foul against, I believe, Bojang.
No, it'll be a foul on Jepson against Woodley as he was pushing off. I think Woodley got an Academy Award for that display, though. They got tied up in on the block, and I'm not sure what Jepson was doing on the block in the first place. He was trying to get position, almost looked like he was posting up, and really threw Woodley off of him to get to the corner as Rice was driving to the bucket. But Woodley did a little acting job there as well.
Still down on the floor now as the training staff comes out to help him. He appears to be holding his elbow.
Well, now that he's been attended to, he'll have to come out of the ball game. That'll more than likely send Chris Foster back in the ball game.
also Woodley, whose father is an assistant football coach at Indiana State. I'm sorry, at Iowa State, is a little banged up, and he'll go to the Panther bench.
And they'll choose Eric Smith to go in the game rather than he'll shoot the 2 free throws for the Panthers.
73% foul shooter. As you mentioned, Matt, both of these teams excellent from the foul line, so if it gets into a free throw shooting contest, both sides probably think they like their chances.
And Woodley shooting only 45% from the free throw line, so
that's a
good decision on his part to...
That's an upgrade, yeah. That's an upgrade.
Did a little substitution there. And Eric Smith does the Redbirds a favor by missing the first.
This guy is the captain of the most improved team, speaking of Eric Smith, and you can see that Chris Foster's back in the game. Smith, this year, the most improved team named by the Missouri Valley Conference. Randy Rice was on that team, as we talked about at the top of the broadcast, and Eric Smith of Northern Iowa was voted as the captain of that most improved team. Timeout on the floor, 3:20 to go. Redbirds lead the Panthers 58-56. The Redbirds are 9-3 in their last 12 games, and in 8 of those 9 victories, they held their opponent to 61 or fewer points. The lone exception was last Saturday's win over the Salukis, when Southern Illinois scored 70. And the Redbirds right now have the Panthers at 56 points with better than 3 minutes to go. So we'll see which of those statistics gives way. The Redbirds right now have to like their chances. They're right in this ball game in a building in which Creighton and Southern Illinois already have been beaten this year.
Northern Iowa is capable of knocking down some three-point shots to make this even a closer ball game. Birds need to continue to get to the shooters and get the defensive rebounds.
8 on the shot clock now. It's Rice with 5 to shoot. It's Bojang now with 3 to shoot. His shot is short. Ford tries to go and get, and it's going to be a holding call, and it's going to be against Northern Iowa on Middendorf, who's on the floor clutching his knee.
And Gruber just got his hand on that ball as Bojang went up for the shot, and that's what caused Bojang to miss to the right. But Ford does a good job of going after the ball, get locked up, and Middendorf just bangs his knee on the floor. He's still in a little pain out there, but Shedrick Ford will go to the line with 2 shots, as the Panthers are also hit with their 10th team foul.
And he's having a hard time making it over to the Panther bench.
He's in a lot of pain.
And so he goes straight to the end of the bench where he'll get a little medical attention, and Matt Bennett will come in his place, and Ford is back to the free throw line where he's 4 out of 5 tonight.
Very confident at the line, Shedrick Ford. It's 13 for 16, or 12 for 15, rather, in the ball game for the Birds.
And you see ice being applied to Middendorf's left knee. Both free throws down for Ford, who now has 12 points. His season average is 10.7, so he's above his average, and the Redbird lead is 4 at 60-56 as we approach the 2.5-minute mark left here in Cedar Falls at the Unidome.
Birds still need to be aware of where those three-point shooters are and get a hand up on them on the perimeter.
Smith for 3. From the wing, it's good.
And Jepson flew at the shot and got his hand up, but Smith had enough confidence, got a good look and good follow-through, got a nice high release.
Smith is a 39% shooter from the three-point arch, and he has pulled the Panthers within 1 at 60-59. At the 2-minute mark left here in Cedar Falls.
It's only the second three-point shot made by the Panthers here in the second half after 7 in the first half.
Rice to Ford, open from the foul line, steps inside and hits the short jump shot.
Good penetration by Randy Rice and dish into the lane to Shedrick Ford. Shedrick Ford has really stepped it up here in the second half. Now has 14 points in the ball game.
And a dozen here in the second half. Under 2 minutes now, under minute 40.
In this situation, I would rather see the Birds go back to a man-to-man defense and get to the shooters out on the perimeter.
Foster pump fakes, short shot no good, tipped up by Gruber, he couldn't get it, and Ford comes down with a big defensive rebound.
I thought that tip was still on the rim that time as Gruber went up. Ball was coming off the rim, and the Birds fortunate to come away with the ball.
And now a timeout called by Tom Richardson. It'll be a 30-second timeout. Redbirds have the ball and a lead of 3 points at 62-59 with 1:12 to go. What's your philosophy at this point here, Matt?
Well, clearly they need to work the shot clock as far down as they can, and I would get a penetration from Randy Rice. I would like to see in this situation the same play they ran. Remember at the end of the game against Indiana State down there in Terre Haute, where Randy Rice gets the ball on the wing, drives to the bucket, looks at a penetration out to Sean Jepson on the wing. If he can't get it to the bucket, and he's helped out against defensively. Middendorf still not in the ball game, grimacing on the bench for the Panthers. That's a key loss for him, for them here in the late going.
What a gigantic win this would be for the Redbirds here on the road.
This is clearly not an easy place to play. The surroundings, the atmosphere in here, being inside of a dome, the smaller court just on a portion of this arena area makes it a tough atmosphere, but the Birds have done a good job of sustaining their effort here in the second half.
Now Greg McDermott is huddling with the officials. And now Aaron Middendorf is trying to re-enter the ball game, and maybe that's what the question is, and he's back in, and Bennett's going to go back to the bench. So after a little ice job on that left knee, Middendorf is back in the fray. A minute 12 to go here in regulation. The Redbirds have the basketball and a 62-59 advantage. Shedrick Ford has scored all of ISU's points since the 5:17 mark here in the second half.
And that was the play they ran right there. That's the same play against Indiana State, but Chris Foster out on the perimeter was able to get in front of Randy Rice and not allow him to penetrate to the bucket.
8 seconds on the shot clock. Ford's going to take it himself. He gives it off to Bojang and drew the foul.
It'll be a blocking foul against Middendorf. Good penetration that time by Ford, realizing when he got the ball there was 8 seconds on the shot clock. Good dump off to Bojang, but he'll go to the line for 2 instead. See if the Redbirds out of this timeout come into a man-to-man defense. Again, that's one thing that Coach Tom Richardson has done here in the late part of the season is when he does call a timeout, changes his defense, kind of throw the offense off a little bit.
Ice water in Shedrick Ford's veins. Boy, has he made a living from the foul line in the last month. Hitting big free throw after big free throw. And a timeout on the floor now called by Northern Iowa.
And over the last 5 minutes, Shedrick Ford has scored all 7 points for the Redbirds to maintain this lead. He's really, the senior has stepped up, put this team on his back, and tried to carry them to victory.
And here's another look at the foul that has sent Ford to the free throw line. He drew the double team, and Middendorf and Gruber were just a little late coming over.
Yeah, Middendorf slow coming over. He wasn't the guy actually guarding Ford. He was guarding Bojang inside. And Shedrick Ford, even though he drew the foul, was able to find Bojang on the help side defense. And the Redbirds would have gotten the lay-in had there not been a foul called.
There you see some of the Redbird contingent that have made the trip here to Cedar Falls to see if they can't witness firsthand a Redbird Road victory. Tom Richardson's club already has won on the road in the Missouri Valley Conference, in Peoria, in Terre Haute, in Evansville, and trying to add Cedar Falls to that list. And now Shedrick Ford has an opportunity to make it 2 out of 2 at the foul line on this possession, which he does, and give Shedrick Ford now 16 points. He and Jepson each with 16. The Redbird lead is 5, 64-59, under 50 seconds to go. You see the time in the corner.
That's exactly what the Birds have done out of this timeout, is going back to a man-to-man defense.
Foster for 3.
And Shedrick Ford, his man set the screen, but as Foster went up for the shot, he didn't get up in his face. He stayed down low. You got to get up in his face and bother the shot.
And that is the 10th three-point make of the night for the Northern Iowa Panthers.
Watch this screen out high by Matt Bennett, who Shedrick Ford is guarding, and you see Shedrick Ford just put his hand on Foster when he goes up instead of flying up at the shot. That time Foster got a good look. He does get a lot of elevation on his jump shot from three-point range. Got the Panthers back within 2.
Foster's second three-pointer of the night. He now has 8. Eric Smith has 4 three-pointers of the night. He has 15, and right now he's the game's leading scorer. And Matt Bennett is the other three-point guy who's lit it up tonight. He's hit 3 tonight. And we're not even talking about Robbie Sieverding, who is a perennial three-point threat.
And he has 12 points in the ballgame, 6 of those coming from the three-point line. Struggled a little bit from the field, only 3 out of 11.
And now Alexander runs the baseline and gets the ball into Ford, who gives it back to Rice, who's fouled in the backcourt that time by Middendorf. So there's 36.1 seconds to go, and Rice is going to get to the free throw line where he shoots 80%.
And another senior going to the line for the Redbirds. That's the guy that Northern Iowa wanted to foul, but I'm not so sure that that's not the guy that Tom Richardson doesn't want at the free throw line anyway. He really likes to put it in his hands of his seniors.
Rice is going to get a second foul shot now. He's averaged better than 8 points a game over the last 14 games when his game has really stepped up, and it has coincided with the Redbirds' resurgence in the Missouri Valley standings. Give him 8 points now, so he's right at his game average for the last 14 games. Critical free throws. The Redbird lead is back to 4 as we approach the 30-second mark left here in regulation. Now Middendorf with Ford on him. He's going to penetrate. Pump fake, hang, fire, score.
Almost got the foul that time as Bojang left his feet. Middendorf was able to draw a little bit of contact. The officials did not make the call. Middendorf will get 2 points. He now has 15 points to share scoring honors with Eric Smith for the Panthers.
And a timeout asked for and granted to Greg McDermott. So it's a 66-64 Redbird advantage with 24.7 seconds. And we've been in this situation before in this very building where the Redbirds have had an opportunity to win in the final seconds and not cashed in, but the Redbirds trying to change their fate this time around.
And a good job by Middendorf. Again, got Bojang off his feet, wasn't able to draw the foul, but did get the bucket to go down to maintain or to close the gap to only 2 points once again. I really anticipate Northern Iowa to foul immediately as soon as the ball is inbounded because there's 2 shots. They need to try to keep this to a situation where they get as many possessions as possible. Because if Illinois State only makes 1 out of 2, it's a 1-possession game. If they make 2 out of 2, they still need to get the ball back twice more.
Here's another look at that Middendorf penetration on Ford. That time, good job by the Redbirds not to foul him and send him to the line for a 3-point opportunity.
Yeah, just laid off from that time, and Ford was a little slow getting to Middendorf on the perimeter. Middendorf may have had a 3, but he saw the angle to get the ball to the basket.
So Ford, Bojang, Jepson, Bryce, and Alexander come out for the Redbirds. Smith, Sieverding, Middendorf, Woodley, and Gruber are on the floor for the Panthers. 24.7 seconds left here in regulation. The Redbirds with a basketball in their own end in the 2-point lead. Alexander lobs to Jepson, who's immediately fouled by Woodley. Only 0.5 of a second ticks off the clock.
And I like Alexander taking that ball out of bounds in that situation. Even though he's a freshman, very heady ball player out there. Realized he could run the baseline. Very effective in getting the ball inbounds on that play.
Sean Jepson is an 86% free throw shooter. You take a look at the guys who are on the floor right now for Tom Richardson. Are all the guys he wants to be potentially at the foul line. Rice, Jepson, Alexander, and Ford especially.
A little bit of body English that time by Jepson to help that one and see if he has a little better follow through on the second opportunity.
An 18-point night for Sean Jepson, a 4-point Redbird lead. Foster all the way down, hangs, fires, shot, no good. And Ford corrals the defensive rebound. He's immediately fouled in the backcourt. Big, big, big foul that time, and an opportunity for Ford to give the Redbirds a 6-point lead with just 17.8 seconds to go on the clock.
Big rebound that time by Ford. Just covered the ball up, made Foster reach in to try to get the jump ball opportunity, and was able to draw the foul.
Greg McDermott did not call for a timeout, and yet his team had huddled at the foul line, or I should say huddled in front of him, while Shedrick Ford was the only one standing at the free throw line. So Ford back to the foul line. He's made 8 of his 9 free throw attempts here tonight. What more can you say about the Redbird seniors tonight? Ford, Jepson, Rice have been absolutely sensational. He splits his free throws. 5-point Redbird lead, 15 seconds and counting. Sieverding wanted a 3, penetrates, kick out, Middendorf in the corner, Smith up and in and out. Gruber offensive board and stick back, just 3.8 seconds to go. Inbounds to Jepson, fouled in the backcourt, 2.1 to go. Redbirds at the foul line with 3-point lead and 2.1 seconds to go.
Yeah, the one thing that Greg Alexander didn't realize there when he took the ball out of bounds, he got the ball with 4 seconds. He didn't even need to make that inbounds pass. He could have just held on to it. Northern Iowa took about 15 seconds to get a shot finally in there. 3.8 seconds as Alexander got the ball out of bounds. He could have just held on to it and ran the shot clock, or ran the game clock out.
Jepson has an opportunity to ice the game here at the foul line. And the Illinois State Redbirds are going to come into a building and do something that neither Creighton nor Southern Illinois could do this year, and that's win in the Unidome. It'll be Tom Richardson's first victory as head coach of the ISU Redbirds on the road at Cedar Falls.
The Redbirds first in the conference in free throw shooting, did the job down the stretch to get away with a victory.
The last second shot is no good that time by Eric Smith, and a gutty performance by the Redbird seniors has translated into a 71-66 victory in the Unidome against the Northern Iowa Panthers. Handshakes all around for Tom Richardson and company after an impressive win on the road. Redbirds with a big road win, 71-66 the final here from the University of Northern Iowa. Thanks for being with us. For Matt Taphorn, this is Kurt Pegler. Illinois State 71 and Northern Iowa 66. And good night from Cedar Falls, Iowa.